So I want you to imagine a global market that is fundamentally rewiring how we think about our food,
Right.
how we think about ethics, and honestly, the planet itself.
Yeah, it is a massive shift.
It really is. And consider that this exact market is projected to hit $2.5 trillion by the year 2028.
That is just a staggering number.
I mean, it's wild, right?
Yeah.
We are looking at a shift in global commerce that is happening right now, just sort of under the surface of mainstream supply chains.
Exactly.
And if you want to understand where international trade is heading over the next decade, the sources we have for today's deep dive offer a really clear map.
They absolutely do.
We are looking at two fascinating documents, authored by TUSIST, Dr. Nursatul Akmar Muslim.
She's the CEO of the Think Plus group of companies.
The green halal food industry.
Yeah.
It essentially traces the route from academic theory on campus right into active career paths.
And the second one is just as interesting.
Yeah, the second document breaks down the actual architecture of the Think Plus Halal ESG app, which is, this software is designed to quantify and track these entirely new global standards.
It is a really crucial piece of tech.
Our mission for this deep dive is to unpack how ancient ethical principles are just completely colliding with modern environmental science and cutting-edge tech.
Right.
Because understanding this shift is basically the ultimate shortcut to being well-informed about the future of global supply chains.
I completely agree.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Hmm.
What exactly is driving a $2.5 trillion valuation?
Well, to really grasp that number, you kind of have to look past the conventional wisdom.
Right.
Because a lot of people, they hear the word halal and immediately assume it's just this niche sector, right? Catering exclusively to Muslim-majority nations.
Sure, that's the common perception.
But what the data actually shows is this massive economic force that is being driven by a much, much broader consumer base.
Really? So it's spreading out.
Exactly. Consumers all over the world, completely regardless of their background or religion, are demanding higher standards of transparency.
Yeah, people want to know what they're eating.
Food safety, ethical sourcing, you name it. They are looking for a baseline of trust. And because halal certification requires such rigorous supply chain tracking, non-Muslim consumers are increasingly treating it as a proxy for quality control.
Oh, that makes total sense, like a built-in audit.
Yes. It crosses geographic lines, cultural lines, because, the demand for knowing exactly what is in your food, that's universal.
It really is. And that makes sense, especially when you consider the current state of the food industry. Our sources refer to something called the Twin Challenge.
The Twin Challenge, yeah. This is a big one.
It is. It's this scenario where we have to feed a rapidly growing global population, right? But we have to do it while simultaneously battling climate change, severe resource depletion, and systemic pollution.
It's an immense pressure.
It feels like those two goals are completely at odds with each other.
Yeah.
Like, how do you scale up production without wrecking the planet?
Well, they often are at odds. And that tension is, frankly, the defining economic problem of our era.
Right.
You can't solve global hunger by strip mining the soil. And conversely, you can't protect the environment by just ignoring food security. They are interconnected systems.
That feed into each other.
Exactly. The whole agricultural sector is basically trying to walk this incredibly high tightrope. And it requires innovative thinkers who understand hard business logistics just as well as they understand ecological limits.
And that tension actually brings up a really interesting distinction made in the text. I think most people are generally familiar with the word halal, but the sources emphasize that halal is really only half the equation.
Yeah, it's just the starting point.
Right. They introduced this concept called Tayyib. How do those two concepts interact?
That distinction is essentially the engine driving this entire $2.5 trillion shift. So halal is the baseline. The word translates to permissible. It focuses on ritual compliance. Things like the specific source of the ingredients, the actual methods of processing, and the strict absence of prohibited substances like alcohol or pork byproducts.
So it tells you what is legally allowed within Islamic dietary law.
Exactly. It is a strict binary. Something is either halal or it isn't.
It functions as a regulatory floor, basically.
Yes, a floor. Now, what's fascinating here is that Tayyib means wholesome and pure.
Wholesome and pure.
It moves way beyond mere permissibility. It represents a much higher ethical calling. Tayyib encompasses the overall quality of a product, its nutritional value, the ethics of how it was actually sourced, and its environmental impact.
Let's ground that for the listener in a real-world example. Say we are looking at a factory-farmed product. How does that framework apply?
Okay, think about a commercial poultry operation. You could have a chicken that is slaughtered according to strict halal requirements.
So on paper, it's totally permissible to eat.
Right. But if that chicken was raised in brutal, cramped conditions, pumped full of preventative antibiotics, and processed in a facility that just dumps untreated wastewater into a local river.
Which happens a lot, unfortunately.
It does. But the question is that chicken Tayyib? Modern Islamic scholars are increasingly arguing no, it's not.
Wow, that completely changes the scope of what a food company is actually responsible for.
It does. Because if we connect this to the bigger picture, environmental stewardship isn't viewed as some optional corporate social responsibility initiative that you do for PR.
Right.
It is considered an ethical mandate. This is rooted in the philosophical concepts of khalifa, which means stewardship, and amana, which means trust.
Stewardship and trust. I like that.
The idea is that humanity has been entrusted with the care of the earth. So if a production process harms the planet, it inherently violates that trust.
All right.
And that strips the product of its Tayyib status.
I mean, if a product is produced through wasteful or polluting practices, can it truly be Tayyib? The answer seems to be a hard no. And it highlights why the industry is currently struggling so much. Because right now, the standard operating procedures for global food distribution actively prevent things from being Tayyib.
Oh, absolutely. The system is flawed.
The sources point out this shocking statistic. Globally, 30 to 40% of all food produced is lost or wasted.
30 to 40%. Let that sink in.
It's insane. That is not just a rounding error. That is a systemic failure.
It really is.
It represents millions of tons of greenhouse gas emissions just from rotting organic matter alone, alongside a colossal economic loss.
And that's before you even look at the upstream issues.
Right. You have sustainable sourcing issues like deforestation for soy and palm oil, excessive water use, agricultural runoff, and then the ethical logistics of it all, the carbon footprint of long-distance transport, excessive single-use packaging.
The inefficiencies are staggering, but here's the pivot. From an economic standpoint, those inefficiencies are just unaddressed market gaps.
Interesting way to look at it.
The source material actually reframes these exact environmental and logistical crises as massive opportunities for innovation. The industry is in desperate need of professionals who can synthesize these faith-based ethical values with hard scientific sustainability.
So it's creating new career paths.
Exactly. We are seeing the emergence of entirely new hybrid roles.
What kind of roles are we talking about?
Well, companies need optimization experts, for one. People who can look at that 30 to 40% waste metric and turn it around. Building advanced inventory algorithms or figuring out the chemical engineering required to turn food processing byproducts into commercial bioplastics or compost.
Yeah, the text also mentions supply chain innovators and logistics analysts.
Right.
We're talking about people using blockchain networks so a consumer can trace a coffee bean back to the exact cooperative that grew it, promoting regenerative agriculture. Or analysts designing closed-loop distribution systems and biodegradable packaging.
And the best part is, these aren't just academic concepts or job titles of the future. The documents detail actual professionals doing this work right now.
Yeah, I'd love to enthusiastically share a couple of those real-world examples from the text, just to make it memorable for you listening. How does someone actually land one of these roles?
So the first example is Sarah M.
Right.
She entered the industry as an intern, and her initial mandate was strictly focused on waste reduction within a manufacturing facility.
Just a standard intern task.
Exactly. But Sarah understood that sustainability isn't just about saving money on trash collection. She understood the intersection of those strict halal requirements with modern environmental science.
She saw the big picture.
Yes. Because she could speak both languages, she had a unique competitive advantage. She aligned the facility's operations with that Tayyib philosophy we talked about. And within 2 years, she was promoted from an intern to the sustainability coordinator for her company's entire Southeast Asian operations.
That is a rapid ascent in 2 years.
It proves the demand is there.
There is also a second case study regarding a university student, Ahmed K. He tackled the packaging side of the industry, right?
He did. And Ahmed's story really highlights the nuance of this field. He wrote his university thesis on biodegradable, halal-compliant packaging.
Which sounds incredibly specific. Why does packaging even need to be halal?
Well, a lot of conventional plastics and adhesives actually use animal-derived stearates or non-compliant glues.
Oh, I had no idea.
Most people don't. But if a pure Tayyib food product is wrapped in non-compliant plastic, it compromises the entire supply chain.
It taints the whole product.
Exactly. Ahmed's research solved a highly specific, highly valuable problem, and a major food manufacturer recognized that commercial application. They hired him straight out of school to lead a green packaging initiative.
That just illustrates how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Yeah.
You aren't just checking the ingredients in the food, you are literally checking the glue on the cardboard box.
Every single detail matters.
To actually do that work, to be the bridge between a traditional religious framework and a modern corporate supply chain, that requires a very specific set of skills. The sources outline a core skill stack for anyone looking to enter this space.
It's a deeply multidisciplinary stack. First, you need mastery in data and analytics.
Because you have to quantify all these abstract concepts.
Right. Tracking carbon emissions, tracking water usage per unit of production. Corporate boards need hard numbers.
Sure. What's next?
Second is systems thinking, understanding farm-to-fork interconnections. You have to see how a change in fertilizer on a farm in Brazil impacts the shelf life of a product in a supermarket in Dubai.
The text also emphasizes cross-cultural communication, which makes sense if you are negotiating with rural farming cooperatives and multinational regulatory bodies in the same afternoon.
You have to know how to talk to everyone.
And then there is the regulatory expertise. The sources list an absolute alphabet soup of standards. Let's provide some context for the listener here. The text mentions ISO 14001, ESG frameworks, and the GRI. And then it says professionals need to weave those with halal standards like MS 1500, MUI, and GKEAM. How do those actually interact?
Okay, it helps to split them into two buckets.
Okay, let's do it.
In the first bucket, you have international sustainability benchmarks. ISO 14001 is the global gold standard for environmental management systems. The GRI Global Reporting Initiative is the framework companies use to publicly report their environmental and social impacts.
And ESG is just environmental, social, and governance criteria used by investors.
Precisely. Now, in the second bucket, you have regional halal authorities. MS 1500 is the Malaysian standard. GKEAM is the highly influential Malaysian government agency that enforces it. And MUI is their equivalent counterpart in Indonesia.
Which is the largest halal market in the world, right?
It is. So the skill is being able to design a factory floor that simultaneously satisfies an ISO 14001 environmental audit and a GKEAM halal audit without duplicating your efforts or creating operational bottlenecks.
Knowing how complex that is, how does an entrepreneur or a mid-sized business actually implement this? I mean, it's one thing for a massive multinational corporation to hire an entire team of compliance officers, but how does an everyday business build operations around Tayyib and ESG?
It's tough on your own.
The sources introduce a solution for this, the Think Plus coach for the halal community and their RAFIDAH School of Entrepreneurship.
Yes, this is where the philosophical theory is translated into actual business practice.
How does it work?
The Think Plus platform teaches the seamless integration of modern ESG principles with a classical concept known as Maqasid al-Sharia.
Let's break that term down for the listener.
Maqasid al-Sharia translates to the higher objectives of Islamic law. It is a framework fundamentally designed to emphasize the protection of life, wealth, and overall community welfare. What the Think Plus platform illustrates is that modern ESG goals, reducing carbon, paying fair wages, are essentially just modern corporate mechanisms for achieving those ancient objectives. They point to the exact same ethical destination.
Here's where it gets really interesting. To actually measure whether a business is hitting that destination, Think Plus utilizes a proprietary methodology called the 8P framework.
Yes, the 8P framework.
Our sources detail how this assessment evaluates a company's operations from top to bottom. Let's walk through those specific components detailed in the text to see what a fully integrated ethical business looks like.
It is a really rigorous diagnostic tool. The first P is purpose.
Purpose.
Yes, it assesses the foundational ethical business intentions. Is the company built just for short-term shareholder extraction, or does it have an ethical mandate?
Makes sense. Number 2.
The second P is product. This is where the strict halal integrity assessment happens. Are the ingredients permissible, safe, and of high quality?
The third is process. This is looking at the sustainable operations. Are they minimizing water waste, using energy-efficient machinery?
Exactly. The fourth P is people. This aligns heavily with the social aspect of ESG. It demands fair labor practices, safe working conditions, equitable pay.
And the fifth is planet.
Right, the rigorous environmental impact audit. tracking greenhouse gas emissions, managing waste streams, ensuring zero deforestation.
When you lay those out, you realize how comprehensive the standard for Tayyib really is. It prevents greenwashing.
It absolutely does.
You can't just plant a tree, point to the planet pillar, and ignore the fact that you're paying substandard wages under the people pillar.
Everything is connected, and the 8P framework gives consultants a measurable way to prove their impact.
And according to the data in the sources, the proof of impact is huge. Think Plus Coach alumni report a 60% growth in social impact, like poverty reduction and community engagement.
Those are real, tangible results.
And there's a 92% alumni success rate in enhanced ethical investing and sustainable management skills. They are proving that ethics and profitability can scale together.
But scaling brings us to a critical operational hurdle.
The data bottleneck.
Exactly. You can understand all the pillars of the framework, but if you are managing a global supply chain, you cannot rely on manual data entry. Evaluating hundreds of suppliers using traditional spreadsheets is a recipe for disaster.
And that technological leap is exactly what the second source document addresses. It introduces the Think Plus Halal ESG app.
Software is really the only way to manage this level of complexity.
The app is built for halal industry coaches, trainers, and suppliers. What does it actually do for them?
Its primary function is automated data collection to eliminate manual entry errors. It provides customizable professional templates so you don't have to rebuild an audit framework from scratch.
It digitizes the 8P framework.
Precisely. And it has the ability to instantly generate comprehensive ESG halal assessments. Instead of spending weeks compiling data, the software does it with a few clicks.
So what does this all mean? Obviously, cleaner data is great, but corporate adoption usually requires a hard business case. What's the bottom line?
The documents lay out hard numbers. Users of the app experience a 30% growth in client acquisition.
30%.
Yeah, and a 25% upsell rate for existing clients. Plus, they are seeing a 40% efficiency gain in actually completing these assessments.
That is massive. And the source actually has a call to action for this. A 7-day free trial of the app and a free online demo with Dr. Norsaidatul Akmar Mazalan to see the 8P framework in action.
It's a great opportunity to see how the tech works firsthand.
If we pull all these threads together, provide a final synthesis for us, where are we heading?
Well, the halal industry is clearly evolving from a system of strict compliance into a massive global movement of ethical planetary stewardship.
A total paradigm shift.
It really is. It serves as a powerful blueprint for how ancient faith-based values can seamlessly integrate with cutting-edge environmental science and tech.
And that evolution is why you, listening right now, need to pay attention to this. Whether you are looking to pivot your career, optimize your own business supply chain, or you just want to understand the future of global commerce.
Yeah.
The intersection of halal and ESG is a masterclass in adapting to the modern conscious consumer.
It is. And it leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to consider.
Let's hear it.
We have just discussed how apps and frameworks are successfully quantifying the spiritual and environmental wholesomeness that Tayyib's standard of food for 1.8 billion consumers.
Right.
If that's working, how long will it be until every single product we buy, regardless of our personal background, carries a digital barcode detailing its exact ethical, environmental, and social footprint?
Wow.
Are we moving toward a future where sustainability is no longer just a premium feature, but the absolute non-negotiable baseline for all global trade?
A future where you can scan a product and see instantly if it truly respects the planet and the people who made it. That is something to think about. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive today and for exploring the mechanics of this global shift with us. Keep questioning the systems behind the products you buy and keep exploring.